been working throughout the 2000s before his death. It brought him to a wider audience.
That's what I mean when I say like he was kind of typecast as a horror director, because the horror community really, really loved what he did. And that's where, people weren't really interested in like the romantic comedy aspect. Like, oh, Wes Craven did that. Okay. It was not something that people were going to jump out of their seats to go see. But if Wes Craven's name was attached to a horror movie, you were going to go see that. You know what I mean? Because he had such a good track record with it. But speaking of Wes Craven, when Jada Pinkett Smith after filming, when she was done filming, she had sent Wes Craven as a gift. She had sent him a set of steak knives for Christmas, which I think is very, very appropriate.
So this movie does what sequels are supposed to do, and it amps up the violence. And they actually had a really hard time on the first movie getting past the MPAA. I think they went up 9 times, and then Harvey Weinstein actually had to like step in and have a discussion with the ratings board just to get the movie through as an R. So in order to kind of like head that off at the pass, they actually made this movie more violent on purpose, and then planned on cutting certain things. One of the examples was the first scene with Omar Epps. They actually repeated the knife plunge like 3 times.
Into his face?
Yeah, in the submitted version. And all it is the same scene cut together 3 times.
Okay.
But it was so it would look more violent so they could cut that easily to get the R rating they wanted. Turns out, no problem this time. First time through, the MPAA was like, oh, we appreciate the message here. We're going to go ahead and approve it.
So all of that extra work for not a whole lot.
This movie definitely amps up the violence. The ghost face in this movie is extreme.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, the first killing with Omar Epps, like that's pretty brutal. You get a knife in the cheek through a bathroom stall, and that's really brutal. But I say for me, the most brutal killing in this, unfortunately, is Randy. And I think that when they finally reveal the killer at the end, and the killer does say, like, I got a little stabby with Randy because of what he it's violent. It's a violent sequence.
Yeah. I'd honestly forgotten that didn't survive through this. And I was real kind of bummed out.
Yeah.
And actually, the only real like negative criticisms of this movie were the death of Randy.
I could see that. Yeah, because Randy is, I feel like his fanatics for the style of horror movies and the themes and everything, I think makes him such a really fun and likable and character. Like, he's so smart. You want to see him last, you know what I mean? But because of that, he's the know-it-all. Of course, they would have to knock him off because you have to shut down the know-it-all.
And I think it just goes to further the point that no one is really safe in these movies.
Yeah. You can't.
That's why they killed off Drew Barrymore in the first one and Sarah Michelle Gellar in this one. They bring in those big names who are kind of like a big draw.
At the time. Yeah. So I did see also that in one of the original endings that have, apparently now we know that there are many different original endings to this. So you can't even call it an original ending. And it's possible Dewey died from his injuries in the projection room, because spoiler alert, you do see Dewey get stabbed. So glad that they didn't go with that ending. Yeah. I'm so glad that Dewey survived, because again, it's totally fine to kill off one of your originals. Randy, sure. But I'm so, so, so glad that they changed that and Dewey survived, because he's amazing in 3, 4, and 5.
So we just saw the scene where Gail and Dewey are arguing outside of, I don't know, the sheriff's. This is a really important scene for a lot of reasons. And I guess I'll just go ahead and say this is the scene that kind of tells you who the killer may be. And there are a couple things in it that can tip you off. And one of them is Gail Weathers' line about when they ask what Deputy Dewey's doing here, and she says, Dewey's a good guy, unlike some of us, which is kind of an illusion. But then there's another line right after that where Debbie Salt points out something that she didn't overhear.
Yes. She states, well, if the Woodsboro murders are happening again, wouldn't you think it's someone from Woodsboro?
And
red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag.
because she was not privy to the conversation where that was discussed.
Nope.
Dewey comes out of the conversation and Gail is there and they have talked about it inside the building, but not outside. So yeah, it's a tell. And it,
yes,
first time watching, not something that I picked up on, but as I was watching it just this most recent time, I was like, she wasn't in there. And
yeah.
I figured it out on my second watch.
Now, Jay, how long do you think you'd survive in the Scream universe?
I think I would be a pretty good Randy type character because I'm kind of smart about some movie stuff. So I think I'd last a while. Yeah, I'd say I think if Randy had been given a proper arc, he should have survived this movie. And I think I would continue.
Okay. So you'd be a Randy type character.
Yeah, like I'd be a late death, like maybe third or fourth movie.
Okay.
At that point where like my asking price has gotten so high that they want to kill me off. They only pay me for a game.
Really? So
Yeah.
You think you would be like a part of the Gale, the Dewey, and the Nev Campbell? Because I mean, after this movie, that's all those are your three legacy characters. Those are your three originals.
Yeah.
After that, you just have to hope that those three survive the next three movies. So you think you would be a part of that core group?
I think I might. Yeah.
That's pretty cocky. Because I mean, Jamie Kennedy's character, who is very smart about horror movie things, survives the first one and midway survives the second. So track record wise, you look like you could survive a movie and a half. So I'd say if you're introduced in the second, you could survive midway to the third.
Yeah. I think I'm going to the third at least.
Okay. All right. I'll give you, I just don't want you to get too cocky because that's what Jamie Kennedy did. He got too cocky. Yeah. So if you're getting too cocky, man, you're out.
So how far would you make it into?
Oh, dude, I would not make it very far. I think.
Are you a Jada Pinkett Smith or are you a Sarah Michelle Gellar?
It's hard because Sarah Michelle Gellar was pretty smart. She was like, I'm going to get out of here. She tried. Jada Pinkett Smith was like, man, I would do this or get out of there or whatever. And I do think, and I mean, Jada Pinkett Smith right off the bat was like, I don't want to go to this movie. Let's go see Sandra Bullock and stuff like that. So, I mean, she knew that, I don't know. I don't think I would be a Jada Pinkett Smith, but I think I would put up more of a fight than Sarah Michelle Gellar did.
Okay. So somewhere between the two then maybe?
Yeah. I'd say I'd only make it to one movie. Like I'd probably be like one of the ones that dies off in the end.
Was it Rose McGowan who played the best friend in the first movie?
Yes. Yeah. She, and I think I would probably be a little cocky like her. Like if someone showed up, be like, oh my God, do you want me to be the helpless one? Oh, do you want me to run away and trip? Like I'd make fun of it,
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'd die off in one movie for sure. I'd be introduced and I'd die off in one movie. Yeah. And I also appreciate how we see, promos for the movie Stab. And so they're interviewing the cast members of the movie Stab. Yeah. And Stab, again, is based off of the Woodsboro murders, which is Gail Weathers' book based off of the, Sidney Prescott story. And so in the first one, when they talk about the movie and stuff like that, oh, they're going to make a movie of you. And she says, with my luck, it would be Tori Spelling.
And who plays her in Stab?
Yes, who plays her in Stab. So she was spot on with that in doing a little poke fun.
You notice that Dewey and Randy in this scene essentially have the same outfit on, just in shades?
Yes. And one has a mustache and the other has a chin beard.
Yes, this is I don't know why I find this so funny, but they're both wearing like shades of green and a patterned shirt. Dewey's is like a subdued and a plaid, and Randy's is a bright green and then like a swirly patterned shirt underneath. I think it's hysterical.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I do really like watching this kind of back and forth of who's going to be the killer and talking about all of the different movies of, oh, it could be Hallie because of, Jason and Mrs. Voorhees or and
I like he says that Hallie could possibly be the killer because it's against the type, which is something that a sequel does. But then also when he gives an example, it's Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Again, plays into who the killer is in this movie.
Yes, it gives another like red flag to, hey, who do you think the killer might be?
It's Mrs. Voorhees.
It's Mrs. Voorhees. Wink, wink.
Weird crossover you didn't know was going to happen.
Surprise. Yeah, and it is fun to watch this back and forth between Randy and Dewey, because they're basically it's a more dramatic version, or a more comical version of Dewey is Randy. And I like that. I like that a lot.
If you think about it, there are two kind of straight men in the movie, and it's Nev and Courtney Cox's characters, and they both have their comedic foil. So the foil in the two relationships is fun to me, because you have the straight kind of, serious business leading women, and then they both have the goofy foil opposite them, and they're kind of parallels.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like it.
How do you feel about them having Sydney pursue acting in this film? Like, this is where her character what her character studies in college.
I don't know. It's an interesting choice. I don't know. I
don't think it fits. Yeah, I don't think it fits at all. And I don't recall them ever talking about her wanting to pursue acting in the first one.
No.
So it's this to me is just an odd character choice, especially because when we're reintroduced to her in the third one, she's a crisis counselor, crisis phone counselor.
When you first went to school the first time, did you know immediately what you were going to do?
Well, fuck no, I still don't. But
when I went to school, I initially was going to be a journalist, and then I ended up getting my degree in education, which I'd never used. Then I was going to go be a physical therapy assistant, which I didn't finish. So I don't think it's totally uncommon to like fuck around and do some weird shit, but I definitely don't know that I see theater.
Yeah, no, I think your rationale is spot on, because again, from the time people like think like, I'm going to go to college for this, and where they end up isn't always the same. I just think what a drastically different character choice. But it goes along with the fact that Sydney is not timid. She is not shy. She is not she is a very, very strong leading character. And to see her kind of take her power and have her say, I am a fighter, which she absolutely is from movie 1 to movie 5.
Whatever play this is very nightmarish.
Right. Yeah. What is this play that they're doing? Oh, it's the Oresteia is a trilogy of Greek plays centering around an ancient Greek woman named Cassandra. The specific play scene in Scream 2 is Agamemnon, and it can be identified because Cassandra and the chorus are wondering if she should enter the palace, and she knows she will die if doing so. So Sidney Prescott, landing the lead role as Cassandra, and was nervous about performing due to the murders. Her drama professor, he's a college professor, let's respect that, understood, and Sidney went with doing it anyway. But yeah, it's a Greek tragedy.
Very intense nightmarish scene that they show in the movie, and I think obviously they picked it out because of the nightmarishness, and it does she hallucinates Ghostface in there,
which of course she does. You have a bunch of flashing lights, there's music, people are in masks or dancing around you. It's a perfect setup to have a PTSD response. Yeah. Especially knowing that as Sydney so declares, you're not Billy Loomis. You forgot one thing about Billy Loomis, and that's that I killed him. Because bitch shot him. Yeah. Oh my God, it's the best line. And it's true. Like she shot Billy in the head. And so Jay and I actually have this very cool plan to go down to Cincinnati at the end of March to go to my very first, and probably Jay's umpteenth. We're going to Horror Hounds convention.
Weekend. That's what it's called. Horror Hounds.
Yes, Horror Hound weekend. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event in Cincinnati, Ohio. Jay and I and my partner and a few friends are heading down for the day on Sunday. It's a 3-hour drive, and so there is a huge possibility that Jay and I are going to get to meet Nev Campbell. Jay, I'm so fucking
Possibly
excited.
And possibly Skeet Ulrich.
Dude, the chest starts to get heavy when that